This is true. All right, I'll give it like another minute or two until I get started, in case other people want to trickle in. Oh, that's all it takes? I try to not listen to people on subreddit for any advice, let alone relationship. All this is being recorded for future divorcing evidence, by the way. Yep, that's actually really fair. There are a few things in this world that piss me off faster than her playing League, and it's only like a couple of them. Uh, Dave, I'll one up you. Children and gyms. That's probably worse. I'll give you that. Damson. Yes. Pan is on something right now. He is correct. Yeah, nobody knew Damson, but holy shit, that man, he was something else. Yeah, it's a guy we used to raid with. Um, yeah, he was like a 15-year-old kid that was really good at the game, but hasn't grown up enough yet to like know how to adult properly, and was just an asshole. He did. That is true. He did use racial profanity against me. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was fun. That was good times. Didn't he get kicked from that top 5 US guild for being too toxic? Yeah, yeah. Okay. Enough about our past lives and terrible human beings. So yeah, so let's go over Sprocket. Um, I think it's best to go over the movement and the mythic mechanics to begin with, and then we can go into like some of the nuanced stuff. But the big part about this fight is going to be knowing where to move, um, knowing where the bombs are, and then knowing how to handle like the weird overlaps that are gonna happen. There's gonna be a few of them. Some are more dangerous than others. It's a relatively high healing check at certain places. Um, we're just gonna have to see those as they come. Anda's doing her best to get everything prepared for those healing checks. The 6% buff should help. And we also have a little bit of like tiny nerfs to this fight. It's not going to be super helpful, but they are going to help slightly. Um, but the main takeaway, so from raid, which the people who were in would have seen, but not everyone was in, who will be in. We start with the boss right in the middle of the room to begin with. Instead of moving the boss, um, so I can Um, Instead of moving the boss over to the side like we normally do, we're just gonna keep in the middle. And that's gonna allow for the blue and the red teams to get planted. So on this start, we want to have everybody kind of centered in this middle grid and stacked up tight. Um, Once the fight gets going, there's a couple things that are just always going to happen that we have to watch out for. One of them is the bombs, right? So everyone knows how to handle the bombs normally. And then the other thing is the drills. So um, for the drills, the way we're going to play this fight is um, if you have 9 ranged, no melee ever have to deal with the drill unless the range die. So what we're gonna do is gonna go in with 10 ranged characters to give us at least one person leeway in case somebody dies. Um, and the way the drills work is there's gonna be 3 sets, and 3 people per set get chosen. So on the pole, we're gonna get here, and then ranged need to be ready for the drill. If drills are coming out, range, you need to move to the back conveyor belts. Back here, like they don't show up on the raid plan for some reason, but they're right here. You need to stand on the conveyor belts, and then if they are actively moving, you can just plant. You don't have to move. It will spread out your drill plants perfectly fine. But if they're not moving, you need to just go ahead and kite your drills like normal. Um, That'll keep all of the drill placements out of the melee range for the entirety of the fight. Misplacing these is going to be a big point of contention and struggle. So we need to make sure that if you can be chosen by a drill, that you're going back here. The reason why I say if you can be chosen is you will not be chosen twice per phase 1. So until the boss does his big shock everywhere ability and we get punted across the room, if you've already been chosen for a drill, you can stay in. You do not need to move out. So keep that in mind, especially for like the ranged DPS players. You don't have to actively be baiting out to the side unless you have not been chosen by a drill yet. Obviously, try to keep track of if you've been chosen or not for the drill, etc. If we get drills in melee, we just need to try to pivot a little bit, right? So if like a drill happens, there's no like good drill icon. So like if you get a screw up here, obviously melee would like move a little bit off to the side and just deal with it. But ideally, these all are placed out here. All right, so that's the first mechanic. Second are the bombs, right? So we have 4 bombs, similar to what we have in Heroic. The only difference with these bombs is there are 2 blue bombs, and there are 2 red bombs. So the red bombs are always going to be the 4 on the far ends of the platform. So red is always triangle, skull, moon, and star. And blue will always be diamond, X, square, and circle. Um, Keep that in mind for the entire fight. So you should know what color you are on the pole, and then you should also know where your bombs are going to generally be at. Again, the weak aura will assign you the marker, so it should be pretty straightforward. Just listen to your marker, get to the location, be ready to pop. But there are certain overlaps that are going to be rather difficult, especially for range players to get out to soak their mines before they explode. On Mythic, if a bomb naturally goes off, we'd wipe. So we have to soak all 4. It's not like Heroic where you can leave the last one to pop on its own, etc. So hopefully everyone understands that mechanic. If you don't, now's your time to speak up, but I think that's pretty straightforward. Correct, yes. So say you're like healer 1, right? And these are the swirlies are here, you can just stand right on that swirly. It's actually better if you do that because it gives the other healers more time for like round 1, for example, more time to soak the rest of the bombs before they just naturally blow up. So it's almost like preferred that you stand on the swirly if you're the first soaker for each set. For the first round, it's healers, then it should preferentially choose melee for the ones under the boss as we move down that. Again, that's another thing to add too. It is randomly chosen, obviously. The weak aura will assign you based on what color you are and what class you are, or role, I mean, etc. Right? So like I can't make it choose the same 4 people every round, unfortunately. It's just not how the fight works. So we are gonna have to like be reactive to that. Um, the other thing I want to mention too is I can call out next person go. However, if you can do it on your own, that's going to be way faster and way easier. So I'm going to start with expecting everyone to be able to see like, hey, the weak aura is telling me to go. It'll say your icon and say next, and then it'll say your icon and now or pop or something like that. I think it was now. Um, when it says now, that's when you're hitting your mine every single time, and it needs to be within like a 1-2 second window max for you to be hitting your mine. Otherwise, we won't pop all 4. Um, the other thing too is we will have people like cross over to the other side, right? So like blue will have to move down here, red will have to move up here. So we need to make sure that on our sides, right? So like if you're on the boss, you do not block the other person from hitting their mine on their side. The other thing we were having too from the first few polls is like a red person, a red healer would get chosen. They go over and pop this mine, and then on their way back, they just run over this mine too, and they blow up everyone. We just need to make sure that that doesn't happen as we get further on. Thanks, Dave. I just saw what you sent. It's a good idea. Um, okay. Any other questions with the mines for now? I'll go over like the placement for the whole fight, but no. Okay. So now we'll go through like the cadence of the fight. Everything else remains the same as heroic. It just means that things hit a lot harder. Mechanics are a lot more difficult to deal with. So um, we will start with the boss here. We'll DPS for a bit. We'll do the bombs. Immediately as this 4th bomb is being soaked, I think it's this bomb actually with the weak aura. But either way, once the 4th bomb has been soaked, we are going to move from here to right here in front of these conveyor belts and bait this beam. So if we're doing the bombs fast enough, we will have enough time for the tanks to move the boss over here. The tank with the big AoE bomb will be able to stay out and blow up on this edge. The rest of the raid will be safe. We deal with the beams, and then immediately after the beams are gone, just like in Heroic, this area will be electrified, and we're going to move the boss over in between these next 2 markers. That's pretty standard. Normally we would have the boss here and then move over, but on Mythic it's a little tighter that we want to make sure that everyone's here and ready to move. Again, as we move across, you want to be running either around the backside or running across these conveyors. Remember, these little mini conveyors have little bombs on them that will knock you up as you move across. So you do not want to make sure, you want to make sure that you don't like hit those as you're moving through the room, but you want to stay on your general same side of the area as you move. Okay, so like if you're blue, don't be running here and then through the middle, because that's going to have a high chance of red doing the same and hitting you as we go. We want to make sure that we're always staying on our side as we move through the whole entire fight. Once we get over here, we repeat. So again, just to reiterate, the blue bombs are here. Blue bombs are here. And the red bombs are here. Okay. So everyone should have a general idea of where they're going based on where the raid is. The only difference with this area is we're gonna stay on this edge of the room. Okay, so the blue team has a lot less room to play with. They're gonna be right up against the edge, and these drills need to be very careful that they're gonna be on the conveyor belt, or you're gonna knock blue all over the place. Red team, you're going to be hugged up against the boss on the other side of this conveyor belt. Um, that is to make sure that we're baiting these magnets properly, as well as the rockets that will come soon. But this is just kind of like the general area that we're going to plant in. We're going to DPS there for a little bit. We'll do these 4 mines. Following that, we get another beam. So again, as if we're doing this correctly, we're all here. We will be safe from this beam. Now, this is where hopefully we get lucky enough that a hunter, a mage, demon hunter perhaps has is on the red team. And a big danger in this fight is that the rockets actually can like start one tapping people. So this conveyor belt down here shoots all the rockets out from it. So if anyone's like actually paid attention to the fight, all of the mechanics happen from one side. So this side is always where the beams come from, the magnet's always in the middle, and the rockets are always. The job of the person hopping defensive. So if it's a hunter, it works really well because you can be mobile and you can like actively soak all of the rockets. But if you're a mage, what you're gonna do is you're gonna plant right behind the stack of red in front of you, and you're gonna block. And then that means that any rocket that comes through is going to be hit by you, and you don't have to worry about being hit if you're like the red team. Now, um, blue team, you cannot rely on this 100%. So there is a chance for rockets to take this path. Okay. So they're going to miss this person soaking in the back, and they're going to run right into blue. So blue cannot just like play like everything's going to be soaked and their life is perfect. You need to be actively looking for these rockets on the far side, and you can like shimmy right and left a little bit. Just make sure you don't get hit by them. 1 rocket is not a huge deal. 2 or 3 rockets is a huge deal. So just keep that in mind. Any questions with that? I believe mages are going block, but they might ice cold might be enough. Um, Yeah, I would look. I believe people are taking like actual ice block for it. Um, but I could be wrong. I haven't looked that deep into the mage immunities. Mm-hmm. Ice cold's more reactive, right? Yeah. Okay. If we're really good with the rockets, we don't have to do the strategy, but it's just way safer. So unfortunately, it might be. I apologize, but your DPS might have to suffer. But again, I'm asking you to make your DPS suffer, so it's not a huge deal to me as long as you're doing what you're doing properly. Yep. Okay. So, from there, this is where it gets a little weird. So we we have the 4th set of mines. Um, so these mines are going to be a little bit more difficult because we have a blue here, and then we have a red here and here. What happens with this set is this area down here and this area up here is electrified. And then you have to make it all the way over to this edge to be able to soak this bomb. Um, what we're gonna do is have a general defensive assigned for the person that is chosen for this very, very far range spot. It might be Sack, it might be something else. I'm gonna defer that to Anda to decide if we can manage to sacrifice some of the other externals that we have. But if you're chosen for Skull, in this instance, you need to be popping a personal defensive and you need to play like you're gonna die. Okay, this is very, very dangerous. What happens during this time is a tank is gonna have their tank buster happen, and they're gonna either have to choose to sit here and soak with the electricity, or they're gonna have to move way over here, right next to where you're soaking your mine. So it's a very, very hard overlap with a lot of damage. So we just need to try to play that. This is 3rd mines, and it's right before intermission. All right. This plays out very similarly. It's just soak mines. Nothing else is going on except for just being like way out in the middle of nowhere with other stuff happening. Following this, we get another set of beams and rockets, but we also get the magnets. Okay, so we're going to be sucked into this middle section. Again, if a hunter can soak, he soaks. If we have to hit rockets, we hit rockets. It's a part of the way the fight works. So again, this is just beams and rockets. For this set, we do the mines, and then we have beams, rockets, and magnets. This is where a lot of damage happens. We're going to have defensives assigned here if we can get that into the note, Anda. Just to make sure that people are popping something, staying alive. Movement is probably a good idea here as well. So just keep that in mind. Okay. After this is going to be a big point of our progress. And we need to make sure that we're doing this properly. So the warlocks, first off, we need to make sure that we have very proper and very correct placement of our gates. So with the gate placement, so if we move the boss out of the way, this gate needs to be right next to this nipple marker, and it needs to go to the far side of this marker over here. This placement is very specific, so that way we don't run into each other as the boss does its knockback. For the tanks, we're going to move the boss right on top of this marker, and blue is going to be in front of where the boss is going to go, and they're going to get knocked in this direction. So ideally, blue wants to be placed. Oh, blue wants to get knocked somewhere in this direction, and red is going to take the gate. They're going to be placed in this area. Okay, so we're going to kind of be spread out. Blue, if you're not careful and you're slightly off, so if you're like a little bit here, what'll happen is you'll get knocked onto this far platform. If that happens to you for this intermission, your job is going to be to book it this way and just stay out. Okay. Don't want to hit these red people because you're going to bounce off of each other and you're probably going to kill each other. So you need to make sure that you run this way and you stay like kind of in a safe place. Let the boss move over, and then we're going to have to play around being kind of close to each other, or you just don't DPS and you stand out here on your own little island. So keep that in mind. Again, we'll have to kind of like tease this out. This is going to be a big point of progress for us. What's going to happen here? Blue, you get naturally knocked. That's fine. You just kind of do this like we would do on Heroic. Red team. For this, again, it's going to be random people. But red team, you need to make sure that his cast fully finishes and you start being knocked. Then you take the gate. So you want to be standing kind of like right here. Boss is here. And you want to be knocked in this direction. Okay. And then as you're moving, you take this gate and you will be punted over here. If you take the gate and then he casts, your momentum is going to follow through the gate and you're going to be knocked off the bottom of the platform. So this is like a 1 to 2 second window for you to do this properly. Again, this is going to be another point where we just have to like plan it properly. I will do a countdown for taking the gate, but we will have to learn this. Again, you're going to randomly be chosen red versus blue, and during the fight you will get swapped, so we just have to be ready, be on your toes to know which side you're doing and how to handle this mechanic. Any questions with the gate specifically? Okay, so intermission. Again, a lot of damage happens here. We're going to be popping cooldowns. Make sure you stay alive. He absolutely trucks in this phase. So this is probably a part where you're going to be using personals, popping Healthstone, Health Pot, stay alive, that sort of thing. Now here, like I said, you're either going to be on this side or you're going to be on this side. The boss is going to favor kind of towards this conveyor belt. So melee on blue team, you want to be on this edge. So just like I said here, right? Blue, if you're a melee, you get knocked on this side. You can like run across if you need to. Then you're gonna run this way, stay safe until the boss moves in and everyone's situated. Okay. We get here. Melee, you're gonna want to be over here. If you're a melee and you get trapped over here, you need to stay because these shock pads are gonna like one tap you. You just accept defeat, stay alive, stay over here. Don't try to make a hero play and make it across. Just stay alive. That's all I want from you to start. You'll get the hang of moving properly later on. From here, we just do our DPS, dodge swirlies, do just like what you would do in heroic. It just hurts a ton more. From there, we repeat phase 1. So again, we get back into it. This is the point where we have the empowered beams. And so that's what we're going to have to deal with. We still have the normal magnets and we still have the normal rockets. So we can't wipe to those yet. Rockets still do their normal, just hurt you type situation. But again, we have our blues in the middle, reds on the edge. We pop our mines. Immediately after intermission, I believe there is a potential for you to switch sides. So you just need to be very quick. Make sure you're on the proper area as we move forward. Again, blues towards the middle, reds on the edge. Drills, you just want to make sure you get out with the conveyor belts. The further you are this way, I believe, it helps because the conveyors always move from right to left. So you can just kind of drag the mines or the screw ups across the room as possible. From there, we have a big beam. So again, we can just kind of soak in this middle section. The tanks will get used to the placement for this, but we just soak or stand away from the beams. Make sure we wait for that to be fully channeled, and then we move directly down where we're from. Now here, just like with the others, so if you're blue, you're going to make this run this way and get there. If you're red, you're going to make your run this way. Okay. I don't want to see anyone, purple just be exact. I don't want to see anyone making this purple path because that means that you have a potential for hitting each other, right? So just keep in mind that you want to stay on the opposite side of your partner as we're making these like big, wide sweeping moves across the room. Okay, so from here we have another one of these really dangerous overlaps. So this is second mindset in P2. We have another ranged person that we're going to move super far. So again, if you're signed or you're signed here, you just move over, deal with these, deal like what we would normally have. Again, after this, we have big beam lines and we have a tank bomb that is going to happen at the same time. So we need to make sure that you're out of the beams, and then following this, so as the beams are moving, the boss is going to be moved to this far side because we'll get an electric transfer immediately after. When this boss is being moved, I'll probably have the tanks either make a statement that they're going to move, etc. Red melee need to be very, very careful and very, very aware of what's happening with the blue team as this boss is being moved. Okay. Just because the boss moves all the way over here doesn't mean you can just follow him blindly. You need to make sure that all the blue people are on the far side, and blue people need to make sure that they're moving as soon as they possibly can to get to the far side. No extra casts, no just tunneling the boss and being behind him as we move. Everyone needs to make sure they book it properly to the far side just to make sure that people don't get knocked around. Okay, from there we do a normal set of mines and normal set of drills. So again, they're kind of in their P1 area. And then from here we have another set of beams. And then we have the next closet. So this is where we'll have to set up the second gate. So unfortunately, we'll have to have a kind of gate on the fly section as we go. So what I'm going to need from everyone is after these beams happen, or leading into these beams with these mines, if the warlock is blue, they can go pre-place their gate just fine, and that's okay. But if they're red, they need to be very careful not to run into blue on their way over to place the gate. If they need to, we'll wait for these beams to happen, and then they go place the gate and make sure it's in the right place. So this will be just north of this marker to the north side of this marker, kind of opposite of what we had on the far side of the room. Again, we need to make sure that we stay stacked, let the Warlock go do their thing, don't run over them as this all happens together. This is another point where rockets come out, so we're going to have immunities soak here in this beam area. So this is a big part where like immunities are definitely going to help with this section. So we go back. This first immunity with beams is important. The second immunity with beams is important. And then we go here, and then this third immunity with the empowered beams is very important. So if we can get lucky enough to have everyone spread out to do that, that would be great. However, chances of that happening are very slim. If you're a paladin, if you're a DH, if you have an immunity and you can pop it, it's better that you just say, hey, I've got these rockets, you step out. So say it's a melee, you step out, you deal with the rockets, let everyone else DPS, everyone stays alive, you move back in, and then we go as a team. So just remember that you can make that play. Just make sure that you call it out. Everyone's aware. I'm going to kind of have a general understanding that the people with immunities are going to be actively calling out, hey, I've got this immunity set. You know, everyone else don't worry about it, that sort of thing. Again, as we get used to the fight, those timers are going to make more sense. From here, we do the same kind of situation. So first round, blue gets knocked, red gates. Second round, blue gates, red gets knocked. So it's the same setup. Red's in front of the boss, getting ready to be knocked to the middle. Blue is kind of behind the boss, slash on the side, getting ready to be knocked towards the gate. The moment that the cast is finished, they take this gate, they port here, and we set up for the second set of burn. Just like before, we have the melee group that can be knocked, right? So melee, you're going to get knocked here. Then you can make this long run around the edge, and you'll be fine. Or if you're fast enough, you can make it across. I need to watch videos to see how tight that timer is. I can't really answer for you guys right now how lenient this knock and getting to your position is. You'll just have to play it safe for now. Again, the boss will kind of be like right here. So melee, just make sure you're not bumping into each other. Make sure you're fighting the conveyor belt as possible. Stay kind of at the max melee range on your side as you can, so that way you don't touch your friend. That should be pretty straightforward. Now, if our DPS is high and we're doing really, really well, boss dies either during this part or shortly after. So our goal is to have enough DPS to where we finish here or within the next like 30 seconds of the next phase, because that'll make it a lot easier because we don't have to deal with the empowered void balls. A big part of Prague for the world first people is that they had to deal with the full phases of the void balls, and anytime one of those is hit, it will do large AoE to the whole raid and almost one-shot people. So if we get to that point and balls come out, you need to make sure that you do everything in your power to not get hit by a ball, because it will wipe the raid. So just keep that in mind. Hopefully we have enough DPS to not get to this part. A lot of guilds that are killing it now don't ever make it to the orbs, but there's a good chance we will, given that it's going to be probably not a super clean pull up to this point. From here, we would just do kind of normal. Wrong. This. So we're going to continue on with the same red-blue layout. Again, this is another point where a far range is going to have to be really, really careful that they get the mines. If we make it here and the boss is almost dead, everyone needs to realize, hey, I have a mine. I need to go soak my mine. I don't care that the boss is almost dead. I'm not going to DPS. Okay. If the mines go off, we wipe. Right? That's a guaranteed one shot. We need to make sure that people are paying attention. They're not getting hit by these not getting hit by mechanics, they're not missing their mine soaks, etc., etc. Okay? If, again, we make it that far, we're going to have more balls to dodge. Um, we'll make it to this section. This is another move vertically section. So on this instance, red needs to make sure they move ASAP. Blue needs to make sure that they follow, don't hit their partners. And then again here, boss should be dead, but we have another set of mine. That's basically the fight. Again, I know that's a lot of mechanics happening at once. There's a lot of movements. There's going to be a lot of let's make it to the next mindset, see how this plays out, wipe, keep kind of like treadmilling that until everyone gets some muscle memory of knowing where to go each section of the fight, know where the shock is on the ground, know where your mines are, that sort of thing. But hopefully that gives a better idea on what the plan is, where we're going to be moving, that sort of thing. But yeah, I'll leave it open to questions. Oh, one thing that I do want to mention, the weak aura, the way it works is it's going to choose a person to do a mine once it has chosen you. If you die after it has chosen you to do the job, to start, we're gonna have people say, like, if I was chosen as the third pop and I'm a blue character, I would say, hey, I need to back up on blue because I'm dead. Call that out. If you haven't soaked a mine yet, you won't have the debuff, and you can go run over and do it just to save the pull. We'll start with that strategy, but eventually we'll have to make it to where people just don't die after they've been chosen. The Northern Sky map worked. I'm perfectly fine with sticking with it. It's easier so we don't have to reset stuff up for the previous bosses. We don't have like a weak or miscommunication. Um, if there is a large percentage of people that just hate Northern Sky and would prefer to have the different map from Liquid, let me know, and I might be persuaded otherwise. But it's just much easier to stay with the pack that we have. But again, I can be persuaded. That's not a hard no. Are you asking because you want one versus the other, or just for clarity? Does it does it change after the four have been chosen? Do you know? It does. Okay. Okay. That might be. Which, yeah, let me think on that. I might have everyone do that. Well, the nice thing too is that it glows the next bomb in green on the map too to show you like which one's down. So there is benefit to it. Yeah, let me think on that. I'll let you know before raid tomorrow. It's for week or yeah, if Northern Sky didn't have the map, I would be much more like inclined to switch, but it's a very minor upgrade, so um I'll have to think on it. Anything else, team? Yeah, I'm leaning towards that even though it just means more work for me. That does mean, however, that the markers might change. Just accept that. Um they may not match 100% with the raid plan guide. Just that's okay. I think this is Liquid's icons anyway. I think these guys are different, but I would have to look. Any other questions? Concerns? Nope. Okay. Um, Hopefully these sessions are still helpful. Just kind of gives you an idea of what I'm expecting, and hopefully people are on the same page going into the fight this way. Um, Again, just because we have these sessions, don't expect everyone to be able to follow a map and listen to me telling you what to do to know what to do for the first few polls, right? We got to still let people learn, let people have mistakes, that sort of thing. Um, One of the things that I do want to mention is most guilds are extending on Sprocket through the rest of the tier. We are considering doing the same thing. This week we will be doing a full reclear up to Sprocket, but there's a good chance that we will start extending. So just keep that in mind on your horizon, um, just in case that's what we decide to do, so you don't have like um expectations lowered because of choices that are being made. We're at very mid to high 660s, which is not going to be a huge deal if we get that much more gear. None of the bosses are going to drop any of the high value items anyway until we hit One Arm Bandit. And at that point, reclearing is going to take too much time. So we'll just have to keep that in mind. No, we will not step into heroic. We're done with that. Yep. I want to devote more time to mythic at this point. Yeah, the heroic value is very slim. We're doing the weekly, Sunday runs, or people can pug the other two if they need to. It's not too hard to get the last two bosses on heroic now, and it just takes away because we have so little time. It's just hard to value that over getting more mythic clear time. Yeah. hmm Is there is there a huge value from anybody on Mugsy specifically? I don't think so, right? Well, that's what I was thinking. Let me discuss that with the O's. And then it might be a good idea to just get a quick Gallywix kill, move into Mythic. Um, if we're doing that though, I need everyone very focused. I need everyone to be running bombs. I don't want to be wiping on Gallywix more than 2 or 3 times. If we wipe on Gallywix 2 or 3 times, we're just going out doing Mythic. I'm not even gonna kill it. So just keep that in mind. Know that there's a lot of time we cannot wipe. We need to make sure that that's efficient and that's good time management, right? So, I don't know. Okay. Either way, I'm not opposed to doing just a Galliwix skill. I'm opposed to doing the skip, because we have to kill, 3, 4 bosses. Um, yeah, but I think ring that's probably worth. That's probably the only item that is actually an upgrade for people out of heroic at this point. Again, let me have that discussion. Come to raid tomorrow, without too many expectations, because I know we're trying to like actively figure out what we're doing. So, um, if that is a decision that we're going to do, um, I might ask Dave. Yeah, like if you don't mind and you're gonna do it anyway, I would. Yeah, that would be great. I mean, that goes for anyone. If anyone wants to step up and get a lockout, that would be great. Um, mhm. Yeah, that's the other thing we can do too. I'm gonna leave that to Anda and Serain for the Sunday stuff. Um, if we want to make the last two bosses a little bit more serious. I'm not really attached to the Sunday things. I just kind of come and blast and be able to raid without having any responsibility. So, yeah, if okay, yeah, I just don't know how responsive they're gonna be to making sure mains are there or whatnot, because I know they do sale runs and they need to make sure that people aren't locked out to it. So that could be a thing that we just split off last two bosses. We switch over to mains and we just crush the last two bosses on our own. Kind of end the night at One Arm Bandit. I don't know. But I'll leave that to you guys. Hmm. Yeah. I mean, again, if it's a one pull and kill that's 10 minutes quickly, we're done. Move on, right? Um, we just need to go in with that mentality of we're just gonna kill this quick. Everyone's gonna do their job. Healers are gonna do what they need to do. DPS is gonna make sure they do the bombs. So just come in with the proper expectations, and I'm okay with doing it. We just can't be wiping to it over and over. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, agreed.